needed information in terms of preparedness for those adjustments. To welcome everyone here tonight. Thank you. My name is Elder Jose Lamont Jones. I'm a member here at College Hill, and we've been working with Refuge Depot to bring the community some needed information in terms of preparedness for those just in case. So, we just relived the pandemic that happened 100 years ago, and we just relived the pandemic that happened 100 years ago, and then right after that pandemic came what? Other than the war, but the Depression. And so things are set up pretty much the same, and the more that we go, history kind of repeats itself. And so what we're trying to do is to make sure that the bad part of the history does not repeat itself. People being hungry, people being without. Because in those 100 years, we've forgotten how to farm, we've forgotten how to make things with our hands, we've forgotten how to X, Y, and Z. And so to be prepared is what we've been talking about. And I'm going to turn it over to Brother Steve Muhammad, who will introduce our speaker and talk about Refuge Depot.
All right. Yeah.
Are we live now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I would like to greet all of you in the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum, but in English it simply means it's a prayer of peace be upon you. And we're so happy to be talking about this topic today, and many approach this topic or used to approach this topic in the past from the perspective of, oh, it's going to be nice and fun to put our hands in the dirt and to grow us some tomatoes and some beans. But it's a very serious topic today because you all may not know, but I have an organization called Refuge Depot. And what we focus on is we focus on survival, and we focus on horticulture, of growing our own food. And what we're looking at Refuge Depot is very serious, as you might see in movies where they talk about the perfect storm. Well, when it comes down to growing food, we are now looking at what is the perfect storm. We're looking at, as you all have probably heard, when you talk about the bee colony collapse, we have insect die-off, not just the bees, but all pollinating insects are dying off. In some areas of the world, 75%. And that they're not really reporting these type of things when it comes down to how the extreme weather, with how it's changing, and how one where it used to be zone A, it may not be zone A anymore, because the weather is, and that what they like to say is they like to talk about, oh, climate change has happened forever, and it has. Climate has always changed. The problem is that the climate is changing at such a rapid rate that the insects and the animals and the vegetation can't keep up fast enough. So that's an area. Another area that we have to look at is that we're looking at a lot of civil unrest here in America. And when we have civil unrest, what you're going to then have is a supply chain disruption. A supply chain disruption means that the grocery stores, they work on what I believe is called an on-time system. And that means that there are warehouses that store the food that supply your grocery store. If there's civil unrest and those warehouses become depleted, then so do the local grocery stores. And the problem that as black people that we need to understand is just like they say, first last hired is first fired. Well, that may be the situation when it comes down to grocery stores as well. So this is a problem that we want to take seriously. We want to urge people to grow your own food. And the beautiful thing about it, and what we'll probably learn from our sister, not probably, but what we will learn from our sister is that really growing food is not as scary as the YouTube streamers want to make you believe, because plants want to live. All they need is TLC, sunlight, and water. You have to have a conducive environment, but it doesn't have to be difficult, nor do you have to be afraid. So I just wanted to let you know about the two books that we have over there. This one's called The Inescapable Famine. And once again, this one talks about how America and the world is going to experience, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, a famine that has never been in the history of human beings before. This is going to be a serious famine, and this one is grow food at home. Grow food at home. And I see my sister Christine back there, and also raise chickens. So with that, I want to bring before you our sister Tia. She is, hold on for a second, I got my notes here. We're honored to have her. Sister Tia is BIPOC Farming Initiative Director at Agraria Center for Regenerative Practices. So please give her a warm round of applause as we bring her forward.
Thank you. I want to give all honor and praise to the Most High, who is my strength and my salvation. I'm so happy to be here and talking about this topic with you all. Brother Steve and also Brother Jose said some very important things that I always talk to people when even like in the grocery store line, I'm like talking to people like, do you grow food? And I'm like, they're like, no. I'm like, you should start. Do you realize that for the first time ever in recorded history, that we have a nation full of people who cannot take care of themselves? We are in danger.
Right.
We are in danger, but you are not. You're not in danger because you're here. Half of you already grow. Most of you probably already grow. Maybe you want to come here to just be in the space, to be reminded of what to do. And then some people might just say, I really don't know what to do. I want to learn. And that's perfectly fine. So I just want to give a little background. I'm actually here as a member of Restoration Family Farms and also Restoration, or the Regenerative Farmer Collective, which my sister Christine back there is also a member of the Regenerative Farmer Collective. We grow fruits, vegetables, herbs, flowers, and we also produce poultry. So our collective, over the last 2 years, we did over 100,000 pounds of poultry and over 60,000 pounds of produce that we sold to the Ohio Association of Food Banks. And also my brother here, Brother Khalid, is also a member of that group. So I just want to point out my members that are in my husband also.
I'm sorry, what's the name of the group again? I'm sorry.
The Regenerative Farmer Collective. Yes, the Regenerative Farmer Collective. Just really brief how I started out. My husband and I, we met in high school, got married, started having children, and we lived in Columbus, born and raised in Columbus. And I was always really interested in health and food and wanted to feed my children healthy foods and that type of thing. So I was doing the research, and you got to feed them organic. This is 30 years ago, feed them organic. And so I was doing that, buying organic, and it was really expensive. So as we started having more children, I was like, I could probably be doing some of this myself. We had a little space, a little backyard, so I started to open up the ground and started to plant seeds. Again, like I said, this was about 25 years ago when I started to do this. And then my husband and I had a spiritual revelation and decided that we wanted to move to actually a rural area. We wanted to raise our children in a rural area. So we moved to the Dayton area, and this was about 20 years ago. And when we moved out here, we had, like when we were in Columbus, we just had a regular, we lived in a regular neighborhood, just had a small backyard. But when we moved out here, we moved on 7 acres. So what we were doing in Columbus, we expanded it, and we were growing like an acre of food. And so then I started thinking, like, wait a minute, I could probably be selling some of this stuff. Not just growing it, but I could probably be selling it. So then that's how we kind of got into selling. And that was about 18 years ago. We started going to farmers markets. And really, we would go like to pop-ups in Yellow Springs, Fairborn. And then we had some other cooperatives private cooperative markets. And one thing that really stood out to me is that when we would go to a market, people would come up to our stand and they would look at us like, well, where's the guy at that you work for? Where's the guy that you work for? And we're like, this is us. They're like, this is you? Black lady, or Latino lady, this is you? You're growing this food? It was kind of like an unheard of thing. Like we were like the only people there. The other people were not of color. So we got really encouraged to start, encouraging, not that there's a problem with people that are not, of no color growing. Everybody has to grow. But the point was that our people that looked like us were outside of that space. And so my husband and I, wanted to make it part of our mission to make sure that we help people that look like us and don't look like us learn how to grow, with the focus on people that don't look like us because of the disparities that we had. Fast forward, about 13 years ago, we moved to Brookville, which we didn't know anything about Brookville, but if you live in the area, if you're from Dayton, you might be like, you live in where? Because this is what we got. We didn't know anything about it. We're from Columbus, but they're like, you live where? Black people live in Brookville. What are you talking about? But we didn't know, we didn't know anything. We were farming there 13 years, and 5 years ago, I met Mama Mope. Please raise your hand if you know Mama Mope. Okay, Mama Mope, if you don't know her, you need to know her. She's one of our elders in the community. She's a geographer, she's a storyteller, a wordsmith, and just supportive in this community. So I met her, and she introduced me to Agraria Center for Regenerative Practice. And then that is how I began to have the opportunity to lead conversations like this. So I just want to kind of give you a background about myself and let you know how I got where I'm at. And then outside of that, for 20 years I've been preserving. So we dry, we freeze dry, any type of preservation, because not only is it important for you to know how to grow the food, but then you need to know what to do with the food once you have the food. But that's another class. And we can get started on this one today. I do have my notes because, as you see, I can't ramble. So I will be reading from my notes so we can keep it going and we can leave before 10 o'clock. All right. So this is very interactive, so I'll be asking questions and you can just call out the answers. But why would you grow your own seeds? Yes.
Because you plant them.
Yes, definitely. Yes, thank you. Because you want to plant your seeds. Does anybody else have any ideas about why you might want to grow your own seeds? Or start your own seeds? Yes, somebody says cheaper.
Mm-hmm. You'll have a better idea of where they came from, of whether they were processed or chemically treated.
That's right.
Those things.
That's right. So the brother here said that you'll have a better idea. You'll know where seeds came from. When you buy seedlings from Lowe's or whatever, you don't really know where they came from. You don't know how they were started. Yes?
You know what you're getting also.
You know what you're getting. Yes. Okay.
So it's the final product, right?
Yes. And I'll read my list here. But before I do, did you know that tomatoes, there's over 2,000 cultivars? There's over 2,000 cultivars of tomatoes. Most of us don't know that because when you go to the store, you see maybe 3. You see grape tomatoes. You see, now we have kind of like some rainbow tomatoes. And then we have some slicers. And maybe we have some Romas, so 4. There's
Beef
over 2,000. Yes, beef steak. There's over 2,000 varieties, though. And they're for different reasons. Or different purposes. So, you get to control that, though. you can get a catalog, and some catalogs are dedicated to certain things like tomatoes. Maybe that's all they sell is tomatoes. Also, nurseries and garden centers typically only carry a handful of popular seedlings. So when you go to Lowe's and you see, the line up there, they usually only have beefsteak. Sometimes they don't even have cherry tomatoes. It's like usually beefsteak. Because that's the popular, and that's a popular variety, and they know they can probably sell out, and they don't want to take a whole bunch of seedlings that other people won't buy. But maybe you want to try it, but not everybody wants to try it. So when you go to those the grocery store or the Lowe's and the little nurseries, what you end up with is limitations. So you're limited. So I said there's 2,000 tomato seed cultivars. There's hundreds of cantaloupes and melons and all these things that you can try, delicious things that you can try, but only if you start your own seeds, because nobody's selling these seedlings. Also, you can only do so much with store-bought seedlings because of the decision making has been taken from you. So again, you're walking in Lowe's, there's the beefsteak. Maybe you heard about pineapple, heirloom pineapple tomatoes. Too bad, because they don't sell them. They already made the decision for you. You need beefsteak, and that's what you get, unless you start your own seeds. And then a very important part of starting your own seeds is saving your own seeds. And sister back here is saving her own seeds. She's got her case that she's brought, so if you get a chance, go over and take a look at her case. She's saving her own seeds. And the reason why this is important is because when we grow our seedlings and we put them in our soil, they adapt to our climate. So those initial seeds, the seed grower may have lived all the way down south in Florida somewhere. And so those seeds are actually adapted to that soil and that climate. So if you ever get some seeds and you try to grow something out and it just doesn't do well, it might be because those seeds were actually adapted to a different climate, a different zone, a different soil. But what you can do is, when you have your seedlings and they do well, save your seeds like sis back here, and keep selecting for the best quality. And then now you have adapted your seeds to our region. So that's the resilience part. Also, vegetable plants that adapt more easily to their environment will be better equipped to deal with climate conditions like my brother was talking about, diseases and pests during the growing season, in turn making them more productive, which is really important. And then, like my brother up here said, you'll save money. I don't know if you've been paying attention, if you went to Lowe's or Walmart this in 2025, but I think the price of one tomato was $5.95. $5.95. You can get a pack of seeds if you have to, for $1 at Dollar General. For $1. And each pack probably has at least 20 seeds in it. That's 20 plants. So it saves a lot of money. And so if you think like, okay, are you only going to grow tomatoes? No, you want to grow some cucumbers? Yes.
I want to grow all the things.
So he wants to grow all the things, and that's important. I want to grow all the things too. But if I have to pay $6 for each plant, then that is going to rack up awfully fast. So you will save tons of money by starting your own seeds. I want to pause here to let you know about some opportunities. In case you have a situation where you can't afford seeds, there are some free seed socials. This is sponsored by Florentina Rodriguez, and she has she's a seed worker. She's the program director at Agraria, but this event is coming up on January 31st, so the seeds will be free. Obviously, if you want to have a sip, you got to pay for that, but the seeds will be free for this swap. Or you can also bring seeds. If you have seeds that you would like to share, you can bring seeds. But it's a seed social, so you don't have to have seeds. to take. And then outside of that, at Agraria, these are dates that we will be having Seed Saturdays. Again, Florentina is the brainchild of this, so she will be the person that you meet with. There will be plenty of seeds there. She actually is a, like I said, a seed worker, so she knows a lot of different seed growers and gets a lot of different donations from large seed companies and different types of seed growers. So you don't want to miss this. If you need some information, more information about how to grow specific seeds, there'll be information like that. And I'll send all this information to you in the follow-up email as long as you sign up for, as long as you register tonight. Okay, buying seed. So when you buy seeds, they're available from many different sources. I'm sure you've been at, Rural King or Lowe's, Walmart, and you see the seed racks there. Those places are really limited. These places, these specific companies are all Black-owned companies, but there's also seed places like Johnny's and ENRC. That's a seed company that we like to use. Berlin. There's probably a billion seed companies. So one thing I would like to encourage you to do, and I will send you some information about different seed companies, is go to the website or call them and ask for a catalog. They don't cost anything. They will send you a free catalog, and you get to pour over those catalogs and pick the seeds that you want and order what you like to see in your garden. So we have them at local building supply centers, garden centers, and mail orders. Prices can vary greatly. Usually if you're going to get a hybrid, which is, I'm not going to say don't buy hybrids because they are improved. But they are more expensive, and also if you try to save the seed, you probably will not get what you had that season. If you buy heirloom seed, then that's when you will get the same genetics, and you can expect that same type of fruit. So if they're hybrids, if they're rare plants.
What about organic versus a regular seed?
Okay, so yeah, organic, for me, I'm not really that, I don't want to go on to the controversy with organic, but I'm personally not impressed with organics. People, a lot of these large companies, they'll say that they're organic, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't, who knows, but my suggestion is that you save your own seed so that they become organic.
I mean, if the seed is from organic tomato seed versus a non-organic, the end product, if you grow the
I've not seen.
If you grow it in an organic environment, but it wasn't from organic seed, I'm just curious.
I haven't seen a difference personally. I have had organic seeds and inorganic seeds, and I haven't really seen a difference. My encouragement to you would be, whatever seed you have, begin to think about saving your own seeds so that over time you make them organic yourself by the way you handle the seed. So seed quality is regulated by law, so the germination and purity, that's why I'm saying, like with the organic, non-organic, really, I don't see a difference. Don't buy more seeds than you can use in 2 to 3 years. Each year that you have them on hand, they become a little less potent, and less seeds will germinate. So 2 to 3 years is tops. Although I will say, in 2016, we got a really good deal on some corn. It was a hybrid corn, very expensive seed, but we got it for little or nothing. And it was a lot of seed. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to put this in the freezer. So I double bagged it, and I put the corn seed. It was probably about, I don't know, maybe 8 pounds of seeds or something, like 8 pounds of seeds. 8 to 10 pounds of seed. Well, when we got this contract with the Ohio Association of Food Banks, I had a use for this 10 pounds of seeds. And we got that contract in 2023. So from 2016 to 2023, these seeds were in the freezer. We got nearly perfect germination. Wow. So if you handle the seeds correctly, This is, the 2 to 3 years is what the extension would tell you. But if you handle your seed correctly, you can make the seed last. And as far as handling it correctly, you want to store your leftovers in an airtight container in a cool place. So either a cool place in your cabinet or in the refrigerator. In our case, we stored it in the freezer and it did really well for us. And then also, you want to be careful about the moisture. So using those little silicone packs, you can put that inside the bag or inside your jar. Or you can use a little bit of baking soda, or I'm sorry, not baking soda, but a little bit of milk in like a tissue, and that will also absorb moisture.
Milk powder.
Milk powder, yes, thank you. Milk powder, thank you, brother. Let's see, what else? Let's go to the next thing. Okay, best location for starting seed. So you want to choose a space that's safe from, if you have any pets, or drafts, or heavy traffic, or if you have like small children that might like knock over the plants, just choose a space that's safe from that. These are seedlings that we started probably a couple years ago, a little setup that we had. Also, you want to keep your air temperature above 60 degrees. Most seedlings want to germinate at between 60 and 75. So if your soil or your environment is too cold, then your seeds will have a hard time germinating. And if they're left in a cold environment too long, they may rot. So you want to be careful about not having them in too cold of an environment. Also avoid window sills when possible due to the temperature swings back and forth. So basements or semi-heated garages are a good space. This is actually in our dining room because we are like super farm people and don't care. Like we have to eat, so we don't care what you think. It's not like a decoration or what. It's our decoration, I guess. But let me see. Also, you want to think about when you start seeds, like I don't know if you can tell here, but some of these seeds are very small. The seedlings are very small. And let's say you have 4 weeks before you can take these seedlings outside. They're going to grow. So that means that I'm going to have to up-pot them. So I don't want to have my shelves all the way full and not have a space to up-pot. You have to leave, Christine? Okay. Okay, she got to check on the chickens. That's my little farmer. Thanks for coming. But make sure you have enough space to accommodate later sowing of seeds and also up-potting. Yes.
Got a question. So if we wanted to do like a service to the community and start some, sprout some seeds, germinate some seeds,
Yes.
and then give out to people, how long will we be able to keep those sprouted seeds?
Well, and
What's
we're
the
going to talk
timeline
about,
for
yeah,
that?
we're going to
Okay.
talk about timelines and when you start your seed and that type of thing. So, well,
Okay.
we'll get to it. Let's see, where are we at? Location, okay. So I did want to touch a little bit more about avoiding window sills. Window sills, like I said, they are inconsistent. So cold at night, usually drafty, and then hot during the day. So you can get some inconsistent, results. Now, if that's the only place you have, and it's not wood, because that's another thing, you can end up ruining your window seal if it's wood and you don't protect it. But if you only have a small amount and that's the only space you can use, then go ahead and go for it. It should be okay. All right, containers. Oh, Christine just left. I wanted her to see this photo. She didn't know I had this up. This is from one of our seed starting classes that we have. But there's all sorts of containers you can use. In these photos here, we have some 1020s. We have some trays that have 128 holes. We have some that have 50 holes. And then we have some flats where you can just sow all the seed in one flat. So you'll see that where Christine is standing, where she's taking out plants, that was actually I think she's transplanting. She's transplanting the smaller 128, and those are tomato seedlings, into the larger 50 holes, 50 tray. right there, and just like the peppers right next to it, those are peppers next to it, that's 50. So they were transplanted out of the 128. But you don't need all that fancy stuff. You don't need all the fancy stuff. You can use, sour cream bowls, water jugs, whatever you have. If you have a small budget, you don't have to run out and buy these trays. You could just use containers. Then outside of that, there are also, let's see. There are containers like peat, made out of peat. So made out of organic material, cow manure. There's a container that they made out of cow manure. Also shredded wood. You can use homemade organic materials such as toilet tissue, the toilet tissue rolls. You can save those up, cut them in half, and cut slits at the bottom and fold that. And that can make a paper pot. Also, strips from newspaper. You can take those strips from the newspaper and roll them up. And you have to come to one of the classes so we can do all the examples and show you this. I'm just kind of going over it with you now. But you can use the newspaper. And then also, if you have a very short amount of time, like you're going to put your seeds out in 2 to 4 weeks, you can use eggshells. And the reason why I said it has to be a short time is because the eggshell is very small, but it's organic and you can plant the whole thing. So those things that I just told you about, you can plant the whole thing. You don't have to take it out of the plastic like these. They have to be taken out of the plastic. So that would be the benefit of using an organic material-based pot. Also, if you're going to plant something like squash or melon, they actually don't like their roots to be bothered. So you would want to try to use organic matter so that you can plant the whole thing into the ground. And you don't have to disrupt those roots and risk the plant dying.
Cucumbers like that too?
Yes, cucumbers are like that too. Yes, the cucurbits. Clear plastic domes you see here on the end. They fit over the trays and they allow light in, and it also keeps moisture in. And also will help retain heat. You do want to make sure that you remove the dome once the plants are tall enough to touch the dome, because the moisture that collects on the top of the dome will kill your plant. So if you end up using, a dome like that, just make sure you remove it. All right, seed starting mix. This is what we use. We use a soilless mix. Pro Mix is the brand that we use. And this is actually like a big bale. It's pretty heavy too. And this is the cheapest way to buy a soilless mix. Like you can go to Lowe's and they sell like I'm sure you've seen them, the bags of seed starting mix. Typically, if you buy it in a bigger bulk, you can save like $10, $15 even sometimes. So we usually get like a pallet of it, of Pro Mix. I think last year we went through 3 pallets because my son also grows microgreens. So I would suggest that if you're going to go in as a group, you can go in as a group and do a bulk buy, that kind of thing. And I'm sure that as time goes on, we can talk about things like that. This is made of peat and vermiculite. Very simple to use. It usually comes pretty dry, but all you do is you moisten it with hot water, not cold water. It is so difficult. If you try to use cold water, it's really difficult. It's to absorb the water. So we always use hot water, and it basically absorbs very quickly. And then as you fill your containers, you want to tamp down the soil. It's not really soil, but the soil is mixed. Tamp it down lightly, and then refill it as needed.
So this has fungi in it also?
This
I see a
one has a mycorrhizae. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. All right, we're there, brother Jose. When to plant your seeds. So what you want to do is, and I will send this out to you, we have a planting chart that we use for when we want to start our seeds. I'll send this out in the resources to you. But typically you want to follow your seed packet or the catalog instructions for each crop. So you don't start a tomato plant at the same time as you would start a broccoli plant or a onion plant, for example. If I want to start onions, I'm starting them now or 3 weeks ago. If I want to start broccoli, I'm going to start them probably next month. And then if I want to start tomatoes or peppers, then I'm going to start them about 6 weeks before our last frost, which would be around April, somewhere in April, mid-April, because we usually have our last frost in May, like mid-May. So early April is fine. And you can continue even to plant seeds, even if it's past the date that, like the chart that I give you. Don't ever look at the chart and say, oh, well, I'm 2 weeks off, then I might as well forget it. No, you might as well still go ahead and plant the seeds. It's okay if you're a little late, as long as you're not trying to start tomato seeds in July. That probably won't work for you. But I actually have a friend that she doesn't start her seeds inside. She doesn't start any of her seeds inside, even including tomatoes. She starts tomato seeds in the ground. She lives in Columbus. Now, what I will say about that is that she gets a late harvest. So because the seeds, she doesn't have that early start. The start, that 6 weeks that we got on the front end, she doesn't have that. But my point is, don't give up. If you get too busy, you start lifing. Don't feel like, oh, I'll just do it next year. Like, no, you're just do it this year. You will probably still get a harvest. Yes. All right, sowing seeds. So, sowing seeds, 1 to 2 per cell, and that's for like these trays with 50 hoes or the 128 hoes, which, by the way, I don't really recommend. Like, if you are not planting, 2,000 tomato plants, I wouldn't use this. I would just use like a sour cream bowl or something like that, and put about 20 seeds in that, and put the lid on, and just keep an eye on it. And once the seeds emerge, take the lid off, put it up under as close as you can get it to the light. And the reason why you want to do that is because if you don't, the seedlings will end up being really leggy, and that means that they're kind of long. And if you've grown seeds before, I'm sure you've seen this before. It's like they're kind of wispy and blah. It's because they don't have enough light. So what we do is, let me go back. You can kind of see how we have our lights on the seedlings, and these lights actually won't hurt the seedlings. So especially for like peppers or tomatoes, we let the lights touch the plant. That's how close we want it, so that we can make sure that those seedlings are strong and stocky. If you don't, yes.
Question, ma'am. I know nothing of this. What type of lights are those?
These are just fluorescent lights.
Okay.
The ones at the bottom, they are like a special plant light bulb. We did some testing. We really didn't see a difference. We got these light bulbs. All of these lights came from Menards, probably. We love to say big money at Menards. Uh-oh, what happened? Yeah, we love to say big money at Menards. So I'm pretty sure that these fluorescent lights came from, and actually they're not fluorescent anymore. We started off with fluorescent. Now they're LED lights. So these are LED lights. The one bad thing about LED lights that I don't really like is that they're like throwaways. At Menards, they're just like, but they claim you're going to get like 10 or 12 years out of them.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't.
But light bulbs.
Yeah, I prefer the like what we used to use, but these are cheap. They're cheap. They're typically like, I don't know, $12. Sometimes they'll go on sale for even cheaper than that. So Menards is a good place to shop. Yes.
I use plant bulbs.
Okay.
So just screw in plant bulbs
Okay.
for my plants.
Yeah.
Just
Grow light.
Get just the regular little lights, and I just use the
And just
light,
use it. Okay.
plant
Yep.
bulb.
Whatever you have available, the light will work.
Mhm.
For your containers, your coffee, your styrofoam
Mhm.
cups to get coffee in.
Mhm.
Just start saving your coffee.
That's
cups
right.
from McDonald's.
That's right. Or if you go to a big gathering and you know those little red Solo cups and everybody likes to throw them away, take a little bag and say, hey, just throw them in here, and then you can, those are actually dishwasher safe too if you have a dishwasher. Put them in your dishwasher. You don't even have to wash them. Let the dishwasher wash them. And then you can use those. One thing you do want to remember to do though, if when you use something that wasn't really designed for seed starting, is making sure that it has drainage holes. So you want to take a knife and poke some holes in the bottom so that your soil won't be waterlogged.
Now I also have I've been like the Maxwell House plastic.
Yes.
I got so many of this, so I need to do some of those.
Yes, you can use those. And I actually like anything. I like that.
I'm be a good recycler. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, good hoarding now.
That's
Glass
a
jars
good.
and
The Maxwell House works. Anything for me, anything with a lid. So the lid part is important to me because, like I said, it's going to hold in your moisture. It'll hold in your heat as well. So the Maxwell House that has a lid, your sour cream bowls, your
and
but
so
if you
outside
don't,
cat litter
yes,
plastic things.
that's right. Yes.
Lord.
How about the, we used to have, before we had the chickens, we used to buy the big chicken things where you get a lot of eggs in one container. Are those, is that enough
Yeah,
dirt
you can use
that you
those.
can do that?
Yes, you can use
Okay.
those too.
Those
Yes.
work really well.
Yeah, they do because they have like a lid too.
Last year, because I'm a new partner, I used like the liter water bottles, I used to recycle them, and I could cut them in half if I needed to, just tape them, they made like little greenhouses.
Yes,
That works good too.
that works really good. And Miss Sharon will testify to this. If you wanted to start right now, you can use those right now and just put them outside. You can start your seedlings right now in this weather, and they will go through that freeze thaw outside. Just put them outside, and it's called winter sowing. If you want to look it up on YouTube, there's some videos on YouTube. Winter sowing. Miss Sharon said she did hers winter
I've
sow
got like
last
9
year,
of them.
and she's going to do more this year.
Yep, I've got them out now. I've got
Okay.
9
Okay,
out this
so she's
year.
already got her
Yeah.
seed started. I will say that doesn't work well with like green beans, but what do you have planted right now, Miss Sharon?
Oh my goodness. I did do tomatoes, onions, broccoli, lettuce, kale. Oh my goodness, what have I got? Cucumbers, peppers. Let's see. What else do I have? I'm doing things. I forgot the other 2, but I've got 9 out.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that's really good. And
And the
so,
snow will definitely water them.
yes, the snow will water them.
They're just in there.
The
I need to
snow
water 'em 'cause
waters
I looked at them
them.
like, you're kind of dry.
And they emerge when it's time to,
Right.
when it's time to transplant. So it's a perfect little greenhouse
I
condition.
used Miracle Grow potting mix and drilled holes in the bottom, drilled 4 holes, and you cut it in half. Don't cut it all the way where it's like, it's a hinge on the back where the handle is that you pick up, and then duct tape it.
Yes.
And then take off the lid and let it get watered.
Yes.
That's it.
And like Miss Sharon said, once you put it out there, you don't have to worry about it until it's time to plant in the spring or in the summer. This is fine if you have time, but if you feel like you don't have time, there's still something you can do.
Hey, Tia. Now, I didn't put anything outside. My kale is still outside in the summer. It's covered, so
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. But I did start my sweet potato slips.
Okay, nice.
Oh, okay.
But in the house, and broken rule, Tia, they're in the window. But it's not on wood. But I wanted to give them, and their year before last sweet potatoes.
Okay.
So I wanted to give them enough chance so I have enough slips, slips which you pull out. And so I think I saw about 15, 20 slips on them already. And it's only been a little over a month since they've been in the water.
Okay. I am really glad that you're interested in sweet potatoes because that's a survival crop. We have been doing trials on our farm with sweet potatoes, growing a lot of different kinds. There is a company or organization called Sandhill Preservation Center, and this man has probably 150 varieties of sweet potatoes. That's where we get our sweet potatoes.
Okay.
I do want to caution you about the timing. So it sounds like you're really early to start the slips, which is fine. Like you can eat them,
Right.
they're edible, so it's not a big deal. But sweet potatoes are heat loving. What we do with our sweet potatoes is we start them outside. Very simple. It's so easy. I'm kind of getting off, but that's one of my topics. I love sweet potatoes and learning about the sweet potato. But we'll get together later and talk.
Well, this is my first year.
Okay.
Last year I tried it in 4 different mediums. I tried growing them in hay.
Mhm.
That didn't do so good.
Mm.
I grew it in a cardboard box. That was excellent.
Okay.
That was excellent. And
Okay.
then I did a laundry basket. Well, a big tub.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did they do in the laundry basket?
Mm-hmm.
They did good.
That
Good.
was good. The flop was the straw.
Yeah.
It was-
Yeah.
You know, like on social
Potatoes.
media, they've really gone with the different kind of containers.
Mhm.
Laundry baskets are good for
Yes.
like certain plants,
Mhm.
and of course the 5-gallon containers. They're really into that.
Yeah.
But laundry baskets, 5-gallon containers.
There's so many ways.
Just about anything.
Laundry baskets were really good for me because you get the laundry basket and then you get the laundry bag
Mhm.
and you line it with it.
Okay.
And then you fill it dirt, the dirt won't fall out.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you can move it from spot to spot.
I also have the fabric baskets.
Mhm.
Okay.
Iffy on those.
They did good on my regular potatoes because it has the little door. You just pull everything out.
No, mine don't have a
Oh, sorry.
She all fancy over here at
I wanna. What time is it? 7 o'clock. Oh, okay. Okay. I love this. I love conversations as part of like when I'm having when we're having classes or we're having gatherings. I love when people contribute what they're trying and what worked for them and what didn't work for them. So this conversation is beautiful. If anybody, please don't hesitate to jump in and let us know what worked for you or what didn't work for you. So sowing seeds. Again, if you're going to use the little trays, 1 to 2 seeds per cell, or you can put 20, or so in one of those coffee containers like Miss Sharon has back there. The rule for depth, how deep you want to plant it, is 4 times as deep as the seed is wide. And I do have some seeds here, so just to kind of show you what I mean. So I'll use these bean seeds. So this is just a quick, so that you will understand what I mean. If you were to stack the beans like this, and I'm just going to come out so you can see what I'm saying. You probably already know this. But this would be the depth. Can you see that? That would be the depth of the seed. So 4 times the seed with it laying on its side. So not this way, but yeah, not straight up and down, but on its side. And that's just a rule of thumb, Nobody is that I know is like stacking seeds. What I do when I'm, like if I'm outside planting these beans, I'm just pushing this thing down to my knuckle. I'm just pushing seeds down, pushing them down. And I've never had a problem with them coming up. I'll just leave that there. And the same thing with your containers. If the seeds are smaller, you can lay them on the surface of the soil and then sprinkle a little bit of soil on top and press that extra soil down so that it can make really good contact with the soil underneath. One very important thing is to label your trays. you are not going to remember. You're not going to remember. Please do not think you will. You might remember for 6 hours, but once we get 1 day, 2 day, you won't remember. So please clearly label your trays. You can use a permanent marker, you can use tape, whatever you gotta do, just label them.
I did label my gallon jugs, but I also had with the heirloom, they sent the little thing. I also labeled inside.
Okay, good job.
Okay.
Good job.
I've done that too many times.
Yes, and another thing I want to caution you against, if you're going to do winter sowing, you have to be careful about the marker wearing off. We like to use industrial strength Sharpies. So that's the brand that we get. I don't mess around with no cheap marker. I get industrial strength Sharpies. You know, because what happens is the sun and the UV rays will basically erase that marking over, and then you got the wind and you got the rain, and you know what I mean. And this is for not only labels inside but outside too, because a lot of times what you'll do is when you label your plants inside, you take that label outside too, because why would you make another label? You already have that. So you want to start with a good, strong, marker to make sure that halfway through the season, especially if you like sits back here and you want to save the seeds, you want to know, and it's some kind of exclusive seed, and you have, 15 different tomatoes. You don't want all those tags, getting mixed up, and you're like, now which one is this again? Because I don't normally grow this one, and I don't normally grow this one either. But yes, permanent marker. Some seeds need light, other seeds need darkness to germinate. Typically on if you have, your seed packs typically tell you whether or not to cover the seeds or if they need light to germinate. I brought actually a couple of different types of seeds. I even brought some of that I saved. And if you notice, I don't have a lot of information on the ones that I saved. Not like with this True Love Seeds, how she has hers nicely labeled with all the instructions and how many days till harvest and all that. But what I do like to do is when and this is kind of like a side note about seed saving, when I am growing out seeds, I do like to take photos of the plant, and I like to take photos of the fruit as it's growing. So then later on, if I want to go back this winter, I can pull up the fruit on my phone, and I can print it out, and I could, put it on the back here if I wanted to, just like, they have. So that's one little tip for seed saving. Oh, I think we already talked about that. Oh, maybe we didn't. No, we didn't. I just had the same photo. So light requirements, we did kind of talk about the fluorescent lights. And also keeping the lights 2 to 4 inches above the seedlings, and that's when they're mature. Lettuce is not as finicky about being leggy. It's not like peppers or tomatoes. They get really leggy really fast.
Plants.
Would you say?
Plants with stems.
Yes, plants with stems. Thank you, brother. Also, you want to provide 12 to 16 hours of light per day. There are timers. You can get a timer and plug your lights into a timer, so you don't have to worry about it. You can go to bed and it'll turn off and turn on when they need to turn on and turn off. The other thing you could do is 24 hours on, 24 hours off. We have done this and have not had any issues with that. So that means that instead of getting up at 12 o'clock or whatever to unplug the lights, we just leave it on all night and then unplug it in the morning, and then we don't turn the light back on until the next day. And we've never had any issue with that. Bottom heat. You can use these heaters. They work pretty good for germination, especially if you need to plant seeds fast. There's a couple of tricks you can do, like you can soak your seeds. Like let's say, sis out here, let's say you had to work and you meant to start those seeds and you kept meaning to start them, but it's like a week later and you're like, man, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be a week late. Well, what I've done before in the past is to sprout the seeds. So if anybody's familiar with sprouting, basically you soak your seeds overnight and then you drain them. and then you rinse the seeds 2 times a day until they sprout. And typically it only takes like between 2 and 4 days, and that cuts down that time that it takes to germinate the seeds by so much. And then you can just put them, on a mat, and basically it's almost like you just caught up. So that's like a little trick that I've used, because I'm always like, oh, did you start those seeds, David? He's like, no, I didn't get to it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start tomorrow. Then tomorrow comes and it's like, I'm doing this, that, and the third. Like, I'll just start tomorrow. And so I end up having to, do the little trick. Also, heat mats can reduce dampening off risk. Dampening off usually happens when your seed roots get too cold. And we'll talk about that a little later too. Okay, watering and fertilizing. You want to keep the soil moist, but definitely not soggy during germination. The period, if you keep it soggy, you run the risk of your seeds rotting. So definitely keep them moist. Also, that's not a hard fast rule. Let me just say this, because there are some systems. I think Berkeley has one that we've used before, and also my husband and I and our children, we do hydroponics, and those are kept wet, and there's never any problem with like dampening off or with the seeds rotting. I think the soil would have to be like sopping wet or something, like inappropriately, floating almost, and in your soil is mixed with the water. But if it's just like wet, a lot of the information on my slides actually came from the University of Minnesota, and some of the things that they say I disagree with. So I have it here because they said it, but I'll do like sidebars like, that's not my experience. I don't really know what they're talking about, but I'll let you know what they said. Also, this is important, watering from the bottom of your tray. So instead of pouring water on the top when you're starting seeds, you want to water from the bottom. First of all, you don't want to wash away your seeds, but also you can end up damaging leaves with the water. So bottom watering is much more healthy. Also, the top will sometimes get mold on it when you water from the top. So you water from the bottom and you don't have to worry about that. Drain excess water to protect the roots. And then also make sure you only fertilize after the first several sets of true leaves develop. Seeds are so amazing because the way the Most High made them, they are like a little package of nutrients. So when you first germinate that seed, you don't have to do anything. They have all the food that they need. And that's also why if you want something that's highly nutritious to eat, start sprouting. So simple to do and more nutritious than the plant itself. So if you eat broccoli sprouts, it's more nutritious than broccoli. That was another sidebar. Here's an example of some organic fertilizer that we've used before, Neptunes. We also do a lot of making our own fertilizers. Korean natural farming, KNF with Master Chu. If you want to learn how to make your own fertilizers, look up Korean natural farming. There's other nations do these practices as well. We have a Brother Hyro who is from, where's Brother Hyro? He's from South America. South America? Yes, South America. He has classes. It's in Spanish though, so if you don't speak Spanish, then it might be hard to understand. All this information, I will again send it to you. Send you some links of things to check out. But we don't really buy a lot of these fertilizers. We like to make our own. It's much cheaper. You know what's in it, and it really works. It really works well. But today we're not talking about making fertilizers. So awesome. Here we go. Potting up. So there is Christine again. She's taking out the seedlings and transplanting them into larger pots so that the roots have space to grow. And you might have to do this 1 to 2 times depending on the size of your container. You can kind of see how Christine is being really careful with the little fork. We like to use forks. She's lifting it up carefully, and then not by the root ball, not by the stem, and then she's going to place it carefully into the soilless mix. And again, hopefully we can have some hands-on classes. This gentleman right here, he has classes at his space, and then we'll also have opportunities to come and learn hands-on. Hardening off. So once you have, gotten your seeds started and it's getting close to being time to plant them out into your space, what you need to do, you can't just take them out there and throw them in the ground. They will probably die. It's like taking a baby and just letting the baby do whatever the baby wants to do. No, you got to be careful with the baby, You got to acclimate the baby to the situations. So basically about 2 weeks before you are going to plant them in the ground outside, you want to start taking them outside. We typically will put ours in dappled sun, so not direct sun. The first day, no direct sun. We just kind of take them out there, maybe usually in the shade, but just kind of, and we put up a block so not too much wind. You're just kind of out there, feeling the breeze, seeing how it feels. And then each day, so we bring the plants back in, and then during the night, and then the next day we would take them out again for an hour or two, and maybe this time we'll give some dappled sun. And you just work your way all the way up until you get full sun. Now, that being said, if you do the winter sowing, you don't have to do any of that. You just keep it, you put it in the sun and it's already used to the sun. The only difference being, once it gets close to being transplanted, you might open up the and Miss Sharon knows what I'm talking about right here. You open up the top. But let's say you have yours inside. You do this every day for 2 weeks until you can leave them outside. And then you leave them outside. Don't transplant them right away. A couple days where they're in sun and ready to go, then you can transplant them. We like to transplant our plants at night. We do not evening transplants. And the reason why we like to do that is because the sun is very strong. So when you transplant something, the plant is going to go through transplant shock, whether you do it during the day or at night. Our system is what we believe is that we want to give the plant as the least amount of stress as possible. So that's why we always plant in the evening after the sun is going down, so that it has a whole entire night to settle in. Versus planting in the morning and then it has to go through the whole day with this blazing, sun or rain or whatever. And we also try not to plant too close to when it's going to be like a storm or something like that. See?
So the transplanting is for small plots. Because you got 7 acres. You do a lot of it by hand?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
Yes, we do. We do. We have a large family though, so that's part of it. We got the traditional farm family. So I mean, we'll plant thousands of seedlings by hand. We just like all hands on deck or whatever, and get it done. So planting outside here, you see we have Edgemont Solar Garden. And we've got Prince and Sister Morgan, Brother Prince, and Sister Toya. And I can't remember this young lady's name. She didn't come to all the classes. What's her name? I can't remember her name. She didn't come to all the classes. But they are planting in, they have some landscape fabric down to help with weed control. And are going to plant, they planted directly into this. I really wish I would have added the mid-season photos because their plants look a little scraggly, but those plants were absolutely beautiful. By mid-season, if you can look at the tomatoes, they look a little scraggly, don't they? Like, are they going to make it? Tomatoes are really resilient. I mean, you almost have to
So I since last year was my first year doing it on my own. I had like a struggle garden. I started super late, but I said I just want to plant something to just get used to the practice. I was in and out of town. I was in my caregiver season, And so there were times where I was forgetting things, whether it be the water, if we had the extreme heat. I was almost neglecting my poor little plants. And then I have a giant tree that has the squirrels. So I had marigolds around, which sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. And my pride and joy, one day I looked up there, I said, and they just kept coming. So I had, a bunch of, they had a late harvest and I had green tomatoes. And I said, next year, I'm going to start earlier.
Yes.
The work I'm going to put into it, I'm going to have tomatoes.
Yes.
And I only had one, I had planted 2 seedlings. And I
Okay.
had one seedling that just, it was strong. And I got tomatoes off of that one seedling and doing nothing with it. So I can imagine what I'm going to
Yes, thank you for that testimony. And like Brother Steve said at the beginning, they want to live. Especially, there are some plants that really want to live, like tomatoes.
Cherry tomatoes.
Cherry tomatoes, they will sow themselves. We get volunteers every year. Cherry tomatoes.
Yeah, I found one way across on the other side.
Yeah, right.
Not be denied.
So you can kind of see how we talked about, they're going to plant those tomatoes out. Typically what we do when we plant the tomatoes is we plant them as deep as possible. So all the way, the stem right here, we bury this whole stem all the way up into the leaves. And a lot of times we'll even remove some of the bottom leaves because that stem will produce some roots. So for tomatoes and also peppers will do that too. And also lettuce will do it. There's some other plants that will do it. There are some plants that don't like that. Like I would say like the cucurbits, they don't really like a whole bunch of fussing. When we are planting cucurbits, like your cucumbers and your melon, we're just like, okay, hold on a second, here we go. Don't touch it. We don't want to, they just don't like to be messed with too much. And really we prefer just to plant them by seed, because they do the best. You can transplant them, but really it is better to just plant seed out into the soil. All right, dampening off. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. It's basically a disease caused by fungi and molds that thrive in cold and wet conditions. So if you have your soil too wet and it's too cold, then you can run a risk of this mold growing, and then it will kill the roots, and basically you won't be able to plant those seeds at all. And also, if you notice that this happens to you, make sure if you want to reuse those trays that you clean them meticulously. So using hot water and some soap, and then also some bleach. Typically, it's like a 10% bleach solution that you want to soak that for half an hour at least, and then rinse it off really well, because those molds the spores can stay in those containers, and the next time you plant them, it'll just be the same thing. So, and that has happened to us before. Like we've tried to reuse something and had a situation with dampening off. Doesn't happen a lot, but we have had it happen. And here's the photos of the way to prevent dampening off. So you want to sterilize your tools, and also using new potting mix when you start your seedlings. You can recycle, you can compost starter or mixes and stuff like that, but when you're starting your new seedling, they're babies. So you want to be a little more careful with babies, And then also providing strong light and making sure, like we said, that the temperature of your soil is not below, it could be below 70, it could be 60. But 70 to 75 is a sweet spot. So I'm saying you wouldn't want it to go below 60 is what I'm saying. Yes. Look at that. So wrap up the next step. Start with clean containers and sterile mix. Use strong light and consistent water. Water carefully and fertilize lightly. Don't forget to harden off before you plant outdoors. And then always troubleshoot early. So if you see something going on with your plants and they're looking kind of weird, try to figure out right away what it is before you end up losing that investment. Because if you've invested 2 or 3 weeks into that plant and then it dies, now you gotta start at, square one. So I think that's it. Yes, that is it. I really appreciate this conversation. And am I supposed to? And I'd like to invite Mr. Larry up.
The next community forum is going to be during International Women's Month, and it will be over self-defense for women. So ways to de-escalate, ways to protect yourself, ways to let folks know that something ain't right with the situation. And so that'll be the next, and that'll be the 19th of March. The 19th of March here in this space. It'll be set up different so that you guys can do the thing, but that'll be the thing. What we're trying to do is build community. Build community. There are so many distractions and opportunities to take your attention with your devices that we don't get together and just live as people. And we're relational animals. It's through relation that we are better. Because it's better as a group than as one. And that's how we survived.
What time is this class? Are you going to post it on Facebook?
It'll be at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8, the 19th. And it'll be on Facebook. We're getting better at the Facebook promotions and videos. That Steve produced a video that was cool. So we're getting better. But the thing is that it's about community, to build community. We're better as a community, especially if the poo-poo hits the fan. It's going to be us together surviving. Because as she talked about the soy and the effect that it had on supplies here in this country, when we can't even get rid of soy, but if it has to go through 2 rounds of tariffs to be able to get back here as a usable product, that cuts down supply chains and product access. And so we need to learn how to do things. And so thank you for coming out.